Why buy a drink when there are free seats? Once a symbol of urban middle-class lifestyle, Starbucks in China is now gradually turning into a community center for aunties. Knitting, snacking, playing chess, even napping, all for free. They don't just loiter, they take over the entire space, leaving actual paying customers to wait for a seat. And the most surprising part? Starbucks seems almost powerless to stop it. The phenomenon of aunties occupying Starbucks offers a raw and candid glimpse into the shifting social, cultural, and moral landscape of contemporary China. Curious why Starbucks employees end up apologizing after being yelled at? Or how a coffee shop ends up with an underground eyebrow tattoo booth? Keep watching. Aunties squatting at Starbucks, eating, napping, knitting, without buying a thing. In February 2024, a powerful article published by Chinese media outlet New Weekly sparked widespread attention. Titled, "The Middle-Class Image of Starbucks is Being Undone by the Elderly," the piece described how, in recent years, the international coffee chain Starbucks has been repurposed by locals in China for all sorts of unconventional uses, from playing Go and snacking on sunflower seeds to sorting vegetables and taking free hot water. Some even nap or use the space to prepare meals. Once a premium spot for business meetings and a symbol of middle-class urban culture, Starbucks is now being brought down from its pedestal by older patrons, transformed from a chic hangout into something closer to a public park or a wet market. This transformation has dulled the brand's appeal for many Chinese consumers. In the summer especially, elderly people flock to malls and supermarkets for free air conditioning, occasionally stopping by a bubble tea shop. For them, Starbucks once felt too upscale and unwelcoming. But in recent years, amid an economic slowdown and a growing trend toward frugality, Starbucks has been squeezed by cheaper competitors, forcing it to offer discounts, run promotions, and host events just to attract foot traffic. This increased accessibility has opened a door. The elderly began to wonder, if young people get to enjoy such a nice space, why shouldn't we? As a result, older customers have begun to show up more and more. But with a twist, they occupy seats every day without buying anything. Grannies crack sunflower seeds and chat loudly without ordering, even complaining when staff don't clean up fast enough. One elderly man walked in, asked for a cup, poured in his own tea, requested it be topped up with hot water by the staff, then sat down to enjoy snacks he'd brought from home. One of the most shocking scenes? A man unpacked 2 cold dishes and poured himself a cup of Baijiu, Chinese liquor, right in the cafe. Others came prepared with oversized bottles of juice for the whole family. And it's not just the elderly. At another Starbucks in Wuhan, someone even set up a pop-up eyebrow tattoo booth. A viral photo shows 3 folding chairs lined up in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, where a technician is working on a customer's brows, just 2 meters from the Starbucks merchandise display. At first, people online thought it was some kind of brand collaboration, a pop-up beauty service. But it turned out to be just a freelance beautician using Starbucks as her workplace. So why don't Starbucks staff intervene? A former employee described the frustration of trying to deal with these non-traditional customers. It only takes a minute to say something, but the aunties and uncles will scold you for an hour. You could get docked 400 yuan, and the manager has to call and apologize humbly. Another staffer complained that the most common trash they clean up is bubble tea packaging from other stores. Faced with blatant disregard for store policies, many baristas are too afraid to speak up. Who dares to kick them out? If you do, it'll end up online. As a major international coffee chain and an American brand, Starbucks has tried to adapt to Chinese life, localizing its operations as much as possible. Yet it still often becomes a lightning rod for criticism. In February 2022, a viral post accused Starbucks of kicking out a police officer who was eating a lunchbox outside a Chongqing store. The post asked indignantly, "Starbucks, are police officers not worthy of eating near your store?" The story blew up on Weibo, leading to a flood of half-star reviews. Even the People's Daily joined in, writing, "Starbucks, please put away your arrogance." Starbucks has also quietly become a makeshift office for the newly unemployed middle-aged. After the layoffs of 2023, many out-of-work professionals began pretending to go to work every day, lingering in cafes to save face. At first, they might order a 30 yuan Americano. Then came group buy discounts. Eventually, nothing, just a thermos to refill with free hot water. Starbucks turned into a judgment-free refuge, but it seems Starbucks is done being taken advantage of. In May 2024, the chain quietly rolled out a purchase required to sit policy, politely asking non-paying visitors to leave. The move immediately sparked national debate, with over 30 million people joining the conversation online. Aunties on a rampage, fighting over every last rice cake. Just before this year's Dragon Boat Festival, a property management company in Fuyang, Anhui, hosted a rice dumpling making event, Zongzi. All the ingredients were provided for free, in the spirit of building community bonds. The goal was to create a festive atmosphere, with the scent of glutinous rice and bamboo leaves filling the air, and to foster neighborly connection. But things quickly spiraled out of control. The rice vanished almost instantly. Footage from the event shows ingredients neatly laid out as the activity began. Then a swarm of eager elderly participants charged in, desperate to grab their share. Despite staff urging everyone to remain calm, polite reminders only seemed to fuel the frenzy, turning the gathering into a chaotic food grab. It was a surreal scene. Some people tore open rice bags with their bare hands, while dozens crowded around bowls in a scene more fitting for a street market than a community celebration. Staff tried shouting to regain control, but younger people stepped back in fear, while children looked on helplessly. One elderly woman, unable to get her portion, even flipped over a bowl of rice and screamed, "If I can't have it, no one can." What was meant to be a Dragon Boat Festival event turned into a festival of human greed. The property manager could only shake his head at the chaos. "We prepared 100 kilograms of glutinous rice and went over budget just to make everyone happy for the holidays. We never imagined it would turn out like this," he said. The video quickly went viral. Online users joked about the auntie effect, saying that when they're scrambling for free goods, their backs don't hurt, their legs don't ache, and all their heart or blood pressure issues seem to magically disappear. One viral comment read, "This is a product of the system. If society actually allowed people to work 5 days a week with a wage that could support a family, things would be a lot more stable." Another user quipped, "Judging by how fiercely they fought for sticky rice, I bet they've mastered grabbing eggs, free samples, giveaways, and seats. When they're scrambling for free stuff, they're perfectly healthy. But the moment they get on a bus, they complain they can't stand and demand young people give up their seats. It's ridiculous." Scenes like these have become all too common in recent years. On April 13th, 2025, in Duanhua Pingjiao, Shandong, the 44th anniversary celebration of a supermarket turned chaotic when elderly shoppers swarmed in to grab steamed buns. In the video, store staff are seen tossing bags of buns onto the floor. The buns, wrapped in plastic, are then frantically grabbed as elderly people dive, kneel, and shove each other to get their share. A store employee later explained the frenzy, noting that the buns were being sold at an ultra-low price, just 1 yuan for 4, which was too tempting for many frugal seniors to resist. The video quickly spread online, triggering widespread discussion. A community worker shared, "One time, we were handing out eco-friendly tote bags, and some people showed up at 4 a.m. with folding chairs to line up." These aunties, seasoned veterans of bargain hunting, completely lose control when the word free is involved. One online comment cut to the point, "When there's free stuff, these women swoop in like locusts and leave nothing behind." Not even abroad is safe. Chinese aunties have taken their unruly habits overseas. From pharmacies in Japan to perfume shops in France, from casinos in Singapore to duty-free stores in South Korea, they've become notorious for crowding, shouting, bargaining, and cutting in line. Their uncivil behavior while traveling has even been labeled a public nuisance. In September 2024, a viral video surfaced showing 2 elderly Chinese women seemingly fighting at Tokyo's Haneda Airport over a dispute in the queue. The clip quickly sparked heated discussions on social media. The footage shows the women pulling at each other's hair and ears after an argument about who cut the line. The scene turned chaotic, and when Japanese police arrived to intervene, they appeared flustered. Due to the language barrier, one officer attempted to mediate using hand gestures, prompting jokes online that he looked more like a wrestling referee than a cop. In the video, you can hear the women shouting, "You pushed me. No, you pushed me first. You hit me." A few years earlier, another group of Chinese women made headlines in Switzerland after violating a local ban by feeding swans, an incident caught on camera by tourists and later criticized by international media. The video shows the women feeding what appears to be white tissues to the swans. They teased the birds by repeatedly extending the tissues and then pulling them back. One swan stretched out its neck and snapped up the tissue, swallowing it. Another woman, in the middle of taking photos, rushed over, grabbed the swan by the neck with one hand, and pulled the tissue out of its mouth with the other. Nearby tourists looked on in shock. The women's actions were harshly condemned by Swiss media, which openly identified them as Chinese tourists and criticized them for disrespecting animals and violating site regulations. Is this moral decline innate to Chinese people? The answer is no. This is not a matter of race or national character. It's the direct result of decades of propaganda and ideological conditioning under the rule of the Chinese Communist Party. The party has systematically dismantled traditional moral foundations, suppressed religious belief, and eroded individual conscience, all of which were once the pillars of Chinese civilization. In fact, Chinese communities in Southeast Asia, such as in Malaysia and Indonesia, do not face the same moral crisis, despite sharing the same cultural roots. In Singapore, where ethnic Chinese are the majority, and where a strong rule of law system is in place, there is no widespread moral decay of this kind. And in Taiwan, where traditional Chinese culture has been better preserved, people continue to demonstrate high moral standards, with strong social etiquette and a clear sense of community responsibility. The key difference lies in education and governance. In mainland China, the long-term eradication of religion, rejection of traditional ethics, and promotion of atheism over generations have deeply corroded the moral fabric of society. This is especially evident in those born in the 1950s and 60s, a generation shaped by radical politics, stripped of access to faith, tradition, and independent knowledge. They are often noted for a lack of trust, loose moral boundaries, and a willingness to act selfishly, regardless of social norms. It's not uncommon for members of this generation to have denounced or even reported their own parents or teachers, behaviors that, in traditional Chinese culture, would be seen as deeply unfilial and immoral. Their disregard for public order, tendency to push and shove for advantage, and readiness to exploit loopholes aren't merely survival instincts from hard times. They are the byproducts of a system that has blurred the lines between right and wrong, self and society. In short, moral decline is not natural. It's engineered. It's the consequence of a deliberate social design, where old values were distorted and new ones never properly formed. And once the moral compass of a people is systematically skewed, the result is the kind of uncivilized behavior we see today. What do you think about the Chinese anti-phenomenon? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.